Hello and welcome. Last time I talked about using Google Keep, which if you have a Gmail account means you have access to Google Keep. It's a free app to track all kinds of things using little notes, and it's relatively easy to use. There's a number of different ways that you can track various people you communicate with and then be able to follow up and things like that. But today I'm going to talk about even a simpler approach, and that's using bookmarks, just regular browser bookmarks. Before getting into it, let's do a little bookmarks 101. Most of you probably already know what bookmarks are, but for those that don't know, it's basically a way to easily be able to get to any kind of URL on the web by simply clicking on its link. So case in point being, you have a address bar here where you put in your URLs. Below it, you have bookmarks bar. So in some browsers, it's automatically visible. Other browsers, it's not automatically visible, but pretty much all of them work the same way. If you hit Control-Shift-B as in boy, it'll make the browser bar show up. And if you hit it again, it'll make it disappear like that. And so the question most people would ask is, why would you want to make it disappear since it's very useful? The answer is pretty simple. If you do not use bookmarks or you do not use them much, then why eat up space on the screen? You have a limited amount of screen real estate. So that's why people turn it off. But you can easily get it back by just hitting Shift-Control-B, and there it is, right back. There's a limit of how many bookmarks you can have visible, and everything else kind of flows to the right. And if you keep adding, you're just going to go, and it becomes like something like this, where you have a zillion different bookmarks. Not the best way to organize stuff. Better way to organize it is just to have all your bookmarks be visible all the time here on the bar. So if you want to go to a particular website, all you have to do is click on the link, and that takes you to that website, and you can go from there. So to put bookmarks on the bookmarks bar, all you have to do is drag the little icon to the left of the URL down to this bar, wherever you want it. And then when you let go of the mouse, it's going to drop it in there. It's as simple as that. That's one way to do it. Another way how you can do it is if you simply hit Control-D. So let's say I went to Alignable, for example, and let's say I wanted to bookmark this particular website. All I have to do is hit Control-D as in dog. It's going to ask me, I'm adding a bookmark. It says bookmark added. This is the name I'm going to give it. And it usually uses the title of the URL on the web page you're trying to bookmark to put what's in there. I can change it if I wanted to and say align by changing the name. And then the second part is you can stick it in a folder. So in addition to having bookmarks, you can also have folders. They work very similarly to how you would do it with organizing your disk files. So you can have folders, you can have files within them, and you can also have subfolders, meaning you can have folder within folder. So that's something that's definitely useful. I certainly recommend doing that. Keep the organization structure fairly simple and straightforward, but do not go too many levels deep, because too much of anything is not a good thing. About 2-3 levels usually is good enough to be able to create a nice structure and at the same time be able to easily get to things. But at this point, and if I wanted to go on the bookmarks bar, as you can see, it shows folder bookmarks bar, meaning it'll put it right on the bar itself. And then if I click done, then I'm done. That's it. And as you can see from looking at the bar here, it's not there. The reason for that is because it always adds it to the end. And the end, of course, here is, it only shows so much. So if I scroll all the way down to my list here on the right side, at the end, I'll see Alignable. That's my link, which obviously is not the best way to handle it. But this is one way to handle it. So then you also have folders. For example, I can right click over bookmark bar and click on the add folder option from the menu that comes up. And then it asks me, it's a new folder. What do you want to call it? So testing bookmarks, for example. I'm going to get rid of it. This is just to show you. And it's going to put it on the bookmarks bar itself. But also I actually can click on one of the existing folders here, which would be any of the folders I already had set up. And then it's going to put it there. So for now, let's just stick it there so you can see. And so if I put it there, again, it's going to add it to the very bottom. and there's my testing bookmarks, and you can see it's empty. There's nothing there. But if I wanted to, I can actually put different bookmarks in there, and then everything will be within that one folder. Okay, let's get rid of it. We got too many as it is. Okay. That's pretty much how it works in terms of adding bookmarks to either bookmarks bar or any of the folders. To be able to add the existing URL to the bookmarks bar or to one of the folders there, all you do is simply grab it by clicking on the icon to the left of the URL and then dragging it while holding the mouse, dragging it to wherever you want to put it, and then letting go, and that's where it's going to go. Okay. If you want to get rid of any bookmark, you just right click on it and select delete. Pretty simple. So now that we've covered how to use bookmarks, let's talk about how we're going to use it for Alignable. In my example here, I have a folder on the bookmarks bar called Alignable right there. And I have some things in there. And so one of the things I have in there is a folder called Alignable People. And as you can see, I have a few people in there. And if I want to, for example, pull up Francisco, all I have to do is click on his name and his profile on Alignable comes up. Simple enough. If I want to pull up Teresa, I click on her name and she comes up, her profile comes up on Alignable. So that's how easy it is to be able to have people easily accessible with basically just a couple of clicks. In addition to that, I also have some bookmarks that are not folders, but bookmarks at the same level. For example, I have one called My Events. Most things on Alignable, when they give you something on the screen, usually they have a unique URL. And having that URL, that means you can bookmark it. You're able to get back to that particular spot by just simply clicking on the bookmark for it. So here we click on My Events, and there's My Events. The reason this is better, in my opinion, is because if I wanted to go, for example, to see one of my groups, I would have to click on Groups. And then when I click on Groups, it comes up. You see, it takes a little while to come up with it. Then it comes up, and over here, it shows me my main groups. And then it doesn't show me the rest of them. It just shows me some of them. If I want to see all, I have to click on See All. And then they're arranged in particular order, which may not be the order I want them to be in. So in other words, it's not very flexible in terms of letting me do what I prefer, what I want to do. Alignable certainly did a good job, at least putting my alliance and my two groups are in easily accessible when you click on groups. But there's a bunch of other groups I'm a member in. That's not easily changeable in terms of the order, the way they show up and how to find it and so on. And alphabetical or reverse alphabetical is okay if you remember the group name. Ideally, I want to have my own approach so I can have things arranged the way I want to, and then I'd be able to easily rearrange them. And that's again when bookmarks are excellent, because if I pull down this Alignable bookmark, then I can go and I can see where it says My Groups, which is a separate section. I have these couple of sections in here. And in this section, My Groups, I have my alliance. I got a couple of my groups. I'm also showing some of the groups that I care about to see in the order I want to see them. So I have a choice. I can display all of them. If I wanted to, I could have bookmarks for every single one of them. But in my case, I just care about these right now. So I only want to be able to go to these ones. And for example, if I have something called All Things ChatGPT Discussions, if that particular group I want to have at the top, all I have to do is click and drag it to the top. And now it's at the top of that particular section right there. Okay, so all of these could be easily rearranged by simply clicking and dragging them wherever you want them to go. You can put them in a different folder. You can put them in a different spot. Just click and drag. Totally up to you how you want to set it up. So that's makes it very flexible, make it very useful, and it's still the same links. One other big benefit I think of using bookmarks is if I click on my groups here, and then it starts doing this little animation thing. And then I click, for example, on my alliance, it starts doing the animation here again, and then finally it comes up. Well, let's do the same thing, same test using bookmarks. So if I go to my groups and I go, let's say, to one of my groups like this, boom, you can see it's visibly faster to go there than to do it using the other approach. Not to mention the fact that I don't have to be doing multiple clicks. And if I click here and go, I want to go to my alliance now, I clicked on this bookmark, and there it is. So it's faster, visibly faster. And so it'll save you some time using this approach. and also more flexible, meaning you can set up any way you want. So if you want to set it up like I did, you can, but you can set it up any way you want. Okay. I just want to make sure you understand. I'm not advocating you set it up the way I did, because this works for me. You have your own organizational preferences for information. So arrange it any way you want. I just wanted to show you how it works. Okay. So I have my groups here, some of the other groups. I have like my events. If I want to go there, messages, click on messages, takes you right to messages. Of course, you could say, okay, you can click on this icon here on the Alignables main menu here, and it'll do the same thing. True. It's one click. It's going to be maybe a tiny bit faster, but even if it is or it isn't, it doesn't really matter. The important thing is that if you pretty much make everything that you need to go to using these bookmarks, then that's one place. And from that place, you can basically jump to anywhere you want. And when I say anywhere, I don't mean just particular alignable pages. I'm saying what you can do is you can go to specific people profiles. So if I want to see, for example, Bill's profile, all I have to do is select him, and there's Bill. Okay. So you can have here whatever alignable connections you have that you want to actually track and do something with. You can have them right here. And of course, it's going to get more and more as you do more and more networking, is going to get bigger and bigger. So you got to be cognizant of that. That's how you set up these sections. So let's talk a little bit about sections. And of course, you can also do subfolders. As you can see, my Alignable People is a subfolder. Post down below is a subfolder. So in terms of these sections, there is no way to set up separators. So you can have different sections like that in the browser. They don't have a feature for separators. In Chrome anyway, they don't. So how do you do it? Just set up a bookmark and then make it look like it's a separator. That's all. That's all I did here. So in my case here, there's where it says my groups. You can say I got some dashes and the word my groups and dashes. It's just a bookmark. And in my case, it's a bookmark that points me to all the bookmarks. So I can go easily search for bookmarks. That particular capability makes it very easy to find any bookmark you want. For example, there's a post on Alignable that talked about an event coming up from one of my Alliance people, and I wanted to be able to get to it. So I know the lady's name is Megan. So I type in Megan, and you can see it immediately pops up all the bookmarks that actually match the name. And if I double click on this particular link, then Megan's post comes up here on Alignable. So it's very handy to be able to bookmark even things like posts. Problem is, Alignable doesn't allow you to get, like you can go on Twitter, and on Twitter, you can actually get a link to any tweet. It would be nice if Alignable did the same thing here, where you can take any post and go to it. It would have a unique URL, which means you can bookmark it, and then you can have collections of these posts that really are important to you. But right now you can't do it. Only some of them come up from time to time in certain notifications, in which case you can bookmark, like I bookmark this particular one. But unfortunately, you can't bookmark any post. If you can see a post on the screen as a separate entity, then you can grab the URL and you can bookmark it. If you don't, then most likely you will not be able to. Okay. So that's how you do separators. Like over here, for example, I set up a separator here to point to the new ChatGPT competition called Claude. So basically it's another AI thing. And so if you're going to use something like this a lot, then why not use the actual separator here to actually be something meaningful? You could set it up to be a link to Google, so you can go directly to a search engine if you want. You can set up all of them to be these bookmarks. And if you want to know how to get to this point, you just need to put in the bookmark pointing to Chrome : / bookmarks. So as long as you set up a bookmark for the page with this URL, you'll be able to search for any bookmark you have using any words you want, and it'll find, no matter how your structure is, doesn't matter how vast it is, how many folders, subfolders you have, it doesn't matter. You do a search, it'll find it. So very handy, very useful. And that's what I recommend you use for separators. Okay. So I showed you an example with posts. There's another post here, right there. Okay. And so you get the idea. And then same thing with people. I have a little segregator here for archive context, and then the most immediate ones I care about. So let's now jump back. Now that you understand how bookmarks work, let's talk about how do you use it for Alignable to keep track of people. And this is where I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it's actually very simple to do this. So let's say you're in the breakout room and you usually have a video of a person you're talking to, usually one-on-one. And below that, you have their little card that shows their name. You can see the company name and you can see the URL to their website. So you have a little card that shows you all this information. What a lot of people still don't know is you can actually click on the name or click on the company name and it'll take you to their profile. Okay. Once you get to their profile, then you can save it. If we talk about specifically how this works, is you get into one of these conversations and then you see that you can click on their name and then it pops out their profile in a separate tab. At that point, you see the tab itself you see on the screen. What you can do is you can hit Control D. For example, let's say we go to, let's go to Alignable. I don't know, we'll just pick somebody here. Let's say we got Dr. Karen Fiorio here, okay? Oh, Fiorilla. I'm sorry, Dr. Karen, if I mispronounce your name, not intentional. So let's say we're talking to Dr. Karen, and when we click on her name in the breakout room, then we will see her profile come up in a separate tab. There she is, okay? So at that point, we're still talking. So I just made this little click. She doesn't even know that I clicked on it, but we're still talking. Now that it opened up, what I can do is I can hit Control D to bookmark it, okay? And it comes up with the name from her profile there. And then I select the folder Alignable People. I set up a folder called Alignable People. I select that, and then I click on Done, and I'm done. So what that does, it stores the profile URL for Dr. Karen under Alignable People, and she's right there at the bottom of the particular section here. Okay. Simple, right? Okay, let's delete it. I actually want to do something more meaningful than just storing her profile URL as a bookmark. And so what happens, let's try this again, rewind back a little bit. We click on her name to pull up the profile, hit Control D, and then as you can see, it immediately lets us type something in a name. So instead of having name in there like that, just put in lady need reconnect next Tuesday. You can put something as simple as that. And I click Done. And as you can see under people here, over here, this is right there. And I could, of course, put in her name in there too if I wanted to. I put in Karen, great lady, need to reconnect, whatever. In other words, you're leaving yourself a little bit of a note of what to do for dealing with it later, which of course takes just a few seconds. I would not recommend doing this part when you're actually in the middle of talking to somebody, because obviously it takes your attention away. They don't know what you're doing. I mean, not the best way to handle it. So if you simply want to add people's names on the fly, you do the Control D, you click Done to add the bookmark, and that's it. So that takes basically a fraction of a second or a second. Okay, so that's very quick. And then you can leave it like that. But then when it's time to go, when you finish your conversation and you need to go to the main room, then you have a few seconds of time that you're not doing anything. And that's the time where you can actually put in this comment like that, like I just did. Example would be, you're talking to somebody, you hit their name, it comes up with their profile, and then you just keep talking. As soon as the conversation is over and you're being sent to the main room, then you hit Control D at that point. It comes up asking you for the bookmark name. You type in whatever little comment you want to type in because you got time, because you're not jumping into another breakout room just yet. And then you simply hit Done, and that's it. So now it's been added and you have information for yourself about what to do with this person later. And of course, you're going to deal with this later. So the idea is to just get some basic info in, have ability to easily get back to their profile because the bookmark will be their profile, and then you'll deal with it later. So this would be my recommendation on how you can use a browser bookmarks like this to not only arrange things in a really convenient and organized manner, so you can get back to different things easier in terms of posts, in terms of groups, all the different things alignable, but at the same time, be able to do this follow-up later on by having these bookmarks that you can then go through. You can see your little comments about, it says reconnect next Tuesday. You then can go ahead, click on this bookmark. For example, let's say I was sitting on my website later on at some point in the future, and when I want to deal with all of these and I look at all my new people and I see it says, I need to reconnect next Tuesday. Okay. So I click on this particular bookmark, and then of course her profile will come up. I can pull up my Google Calendar, go to Tuesday, and basically take it from there. If we're already connected. If we're not connected, I can click on connect, and then it'll send her a connection request. If she replies back saying she's okay with connecting one-on-one, then we can go and set up something for Tuesday and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's kind of the approach. It's pretty simple. Once you get used to it, you can see that basically it's a no-brainer there, because it's just super, super quick and super easy. And you don't need to get any special software or anything else to be able to do this. So to recap, you click on the person's name in the breakout room, you see their profile, you hit Control D to bookmark, to create a bookmark for their profile. You add a little bit of a description where it's asking you for the name, and then you're done, and you move on to the next conversation. The only thing that obviously you need to do is make sure, just like with dealing with emails, you can snooze emails all day long. Okay. But if you keep snoozing emails and you're not dealing with them, eventually you're going to have a huge list of snoozed emails and you still haven't done anything with them. So that's not the best approach to do it. It's a great feature, but you still need to deal with all of this. So my whole suggestion here is set up to be able to create a list of these people very quickly and put a little bit of information so you know what to do later. But this later needs to come. You do need to go through all of these things at your convenience and then figure out what you're going to do with them, with anything. People you don't want, delete them. So you don't even have these bookmarks. People you do want, act accordingly. And then you can set up these little sections like I have here. So they mean something different to you, whatever it might be. Like all the people you've added in the last meeting will be here. So maybe you have them as a separate section. You can move things around, again, just dragging and dropping. It's very easy to do that kind of stuff. And like over here, if I go back here, you can see I moved her to the top. You have ability to easily move people anywhere you want. So you can always rearrange things by just dragging things. So simple, flexible, and at the same time, I think it's very useful and usable. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're watching this AlVid on replay, then certainly feel free to put in your questions and comments. I'll be happy to reply to them. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.